are talking about Cuebids this weekend for many of you who will be back next Thursday. More Cuebids next time, different types of Cuebids. And I really think of all the topics, all the things that we could discuss in Bridge in the way of bidding conventions, or I think Cuebids are it's not even a convention. Realize that when you're not accustomed to using them, it seems like a new convention, but it's actually just Bridge. It's actually just part of the game. It's a fundamental part of the game, but it's a part that takes a little getting used to. And I think what creates problems for people in understanding Cuebids is that the term is used so often because there are so many different kinds of Cuebids. And I just realized, and I'll try and bring this next time, if you have not seen it, there's a really nice little guide, Cuebids in a Nutshell. Have any of you seen any of Dee Barry's Nutshell series books?
I used to play with Dee Barry, but that's okay.
She's from Seattle, isn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, north of Seattle.
Or, well, Washington. Yeah, somewhere in Washington State. And so she did these, she's got 2 over 1 in a nutshell. That's her theme. Everything is in a nutshell. And it's just kind of a pocket-sized spiral-bound book. And it's really nice. And she's got chapters on different types of Cuebids. So what we're doing today it's not directly out of her text, but 2 topics that we're looking at today are 2 chapters would be 2 different chapters out of her book, just to try to help you delineate all these different types of Cuebids. But whether you are Cuebidding, as we're going to be talking about today, as responder after there's been an overcall, or you're the advancer and partner has made an overcall, or Cuebidding the slam, which is sometimes in that case also referred to as control bidding. But same thing, we're just interchanging terms there. We actually can put a definition, and it's on your handout, of what defines a Cuebid. And it's quite simply an artificial forcing bid in a suit where you would never want to play. Most commonly because the opponents have bid the suit, have shown length in the suit. But also, if we're talking about Cuebidding towards slam, when we're introducing suits at higher levels of the auction that we have never brought up before, we find a spade fit, and then somebody bids 4 clubs or 4 diamonds, and those have never been used previously. We're not offering to play there. Whether we actually have clubs or have diamonds, really irrelevant as far as suit length goes, because we found a fit in a major, and that's where we want to play. So the idea is that any type of Cuebid, hopefully you, as long as you recognize it as, well, we would never want to play here, then you arrive at the conclusion that that the Cuebid is forcing. And I actually agree with Dee Barry in the quote that's at the top. This is from that book. That the defining factor in the progress of a bridge player is the ability to grasp and use Cuebids. I think there's a lot of truth to that. It's a major milestone in your game. When you start to use Cuebids regularly, you think of using it, because a lot of times I'm like, I don't know what to do. I have a good hand, and I don't, and the opponents have overcalled, and you totally forget that you can Cuebid. And the nice thing about it is, as long as partner recognizes that it's forcing, they don't have to understand exactly what you're showing. They may not be certain that you are showing support for a suit that they bid, or implying support for a suit that they bid. As long as you recognize it as forcing and just do whatever looks like the most natural thing to do, these are actually, I think, easier than you might realize when you first start dealing with it. So I hope that today will get you down that path of being very comfortable, of using Cuebids. And so these two are what we're looking at today, these two types of Cuebids. And keep in mind, just because it makes everything easier with our terminology, that we have assigned, we have an assigned name to every role, every position at the table, not north, south, east, west, because that changes, not dealer, not any of that. I think the easiest way and the best context to work with is when talking about this is defining what position you are at. You're in at the table. So whether it's the dealer or not, whether there was a previous pass or not, whichever person opens the bidding, that person's opener. To their left is the overcaller position. And of course the overcaller position could also be perhaps a takeout double situation. But in the case of a takeout double, we don't have a Cuebid available, at least not yet, right? Because the opponents haven't bid a suit. So just overcaller for now, opener, overcaller, responder. Your partner opened the bidding and you will be responding. And then the one that is a little bit different that we call advancer, normally the fourth person to act here. And so I always like to refresh people on those terms so that we know who exactly we're talking about at the table as people start bidding. So, plan is we'll spend about the first half talking about the first point, what I think is probably the most common type of Cuebid as far as frequency, what comes up the most, and that is going to be the burden of responder. When your partner has opened the bidding and there has been an overcall. So we're going to start with that. Spend about the first half talking about that. We'll take a little break, and then we will come back with this second type of Cuebid for the person in the advancer position. All right. So when your partner opens the bidding and your right-hand opponent makes an overcall, a Cuebid of the overcaller's suit is going to be, and I'm not writing this down because it is on your handout in part one there. Cuebid of overcaller's suit shows a limit raise or better with support for partner's suit. And we'll give some finer definitions to all of this. So your partner opens a heart. Your right-hand opponent chirps one spade. And responder, at this point, if you Cuebid, which would be two spades here, the opponent's suit at the cheapest level available to you, your two spade bid here shows a limit raise or better. And always keep in mind the or better. A Cuebid is unlimited. In this case, your partner dealt and opened a heart, and then we had the overcall, and you haven't had the chance to bid yet. So there's room for you, as far as we know, to have every point in the deck that isn't in your partner or right-hand opponent's hand. You could have a huge hand over there. Or you could just have a limit raise. The type of hand that, had they not gotten in your way, would have gone one heart pass, presumably three hearts. Or if you play 2/1, maybe going through the forcing no trump and then bidding three hearts. But in any case, if you wanted to invite in hearts, that would be the path you'd go down. So your two spade bid here essentially shows, and again, we're giving you approximations. Well, we let you use your judgment, but normally 10 or more high card points here, and 3 or more hearts. Could be 3, could be 4, but at a minimum 3 card support. So your Cuebid here confirms that your side has an 8 card heart. Notice that if your hand is only invitational and partner isn't interested in game, partner doesn't want to accept your invitation, you can always stop at 3 hearts, right? And in fact, if your partner retreats to 3 hearts, they're saying, no, I just have a dead minimum, not interested in game. and you aren't pushed any higher than you want to be. Of course, if partner signs off and you have the or better over here, you of course can bid on because you are unlimited. But just keep in mind that when partner retreats, they are rejecting your game try. If this happens in a minor suit, things are pretty much the same. Could be the partner opens, say, a club. There's a heart overcall, and you can Cuebid the hearts, and that implies club support. So you're invitational or better, so you're still probably 10 or more actual points here. And about the only thing that is different is, I would say, because that club is not necessarily a 5-card suit like your major suit opening is, but it's almost always 4 or more, I would want to have at least 4 clubs to do this. Yes, plural. So if you only have 3 clubs, you probably have a better bid. Sometimes you're stuck. But I wouldn't be inclined to Cuebid here if I only had 3-card club support like I would with support for a major. And in practice, when you Cuebid for a minor, you probably have 5 or more a lot of the times. And if you think about it, you probably have, if you don't have 4 or 5 clubs in this second situation, you've probably got a better bid, right? Maybe you have a heart stopper and you have a balanced hand and you're bidding some number of no trump. Maybe you're bidding a spade if you have a spade suit. Maybe you're making a negative double. Lots of other options. So you shouldn't ever really have to force a Cuebid without good support for partners minor. And remember that you can do this. What if you have good club support and you also have a stopper in their suit? You may be angling toward no trump, but remember that if your intent is to probably play 3-no, like let's say you have the game forcing hand, you can always start with your Cuebid, and then even if partner tries to sign off at 3 clubs, you can always offer 3-no next, right? So you can always do that later. And so it's usually a good idea in these auctions that maybe, and remember in these situations, we haven't seen what the advancer's gonna do. It's usually a good idea to get in your support for partner suit in case that 4th person gets involved in the auction too and they start jamming things up, or maybe they did it preemptively. And it's usually a good idea to indicate support when you have a good fit somewhere, because it might help partner make a decision later on in the auction if the opponents decide to not sell out and let you buy the contract that easily. So your Cuebid here in these situations is it is a 1-round force. It is not a game force. Forcing typically to 3 of your suit. Could be to no trump also. Like in this situation here, okay, you've established a club fit. What if partner just has a balanced minimum hand and has a heart stopper? They could come back and bid 2-no next time, which you could then pass if you had only the invitational hand, not the game force hand. So I would say your Cuebid in these situations is going to create a 1-round force to either 3 of your suit or 2-no. That would be the minimum place where you could stop. Now, keep in mind also that you can still use this Cuebid, but we may have some situations where you are forcing the game. Like that auction. Partner opens a heart and you get a preemptive jump to 2 spades by your right-hand opponent. Well, you can Cuebid 3 spades if you know you're okay with playing 4 hearts, right? Because now to make your Cuebid, you had to go past 3 hearts, right? So this, and one of the reasons that preempts can be real effective on auctions like this is sometimes you have a hand that's like kind of a tweener. Like you can support partners' hearts, but you're not quite game forcing. So maybe you want to bid 3 hearts, but you're like, I'm really like kind of invitational here, right? And 3 hearts by you here would be non-forcing and partner could pass it. So are you willing to take that risk? Sometimes you have like those 11 counts, kind of right on the edge there. And you're like, well, I feel like it's better than just 3 hearts because partner might pass. On the other hand, if I force the game, what if I catch partner with the hand that wasn't going to accept the invitation? So
what does it mean when the bidding goes 1 heart, 1 spade, 3 spades? Like, what would that mean? Is that a bad thing to do? I don't know, I'm just wondering.
You're thinking about a jump Cuebid?
Yeah.
That would typically be something else.
Okay.
A little outside the scope for today,
Okay.
and possibly dependent on partnership agreement.
It's still a Cuebid,
So why don't we put that one on the shelf for right now? Although I think a more relevant question to this discussion is what is, because this is tied to our whole Cuebid.
Yeah.
All right. What if our jump is in partners?
It's weak.
That's how we play, right? It's weak.
Weak.
That's how we play it, right?
Yeah.
It's weak. Okay, so notice that that part of the reason that you want to use the Cuebid here when you actually have a good hand, and we're classifying good as invitational or better, but part of the reason that you want to Cuebid is so that we can free up your jump raise of partner to be something else. Most people play it as preemptive. So now you have invitational or better, and you have preemptive. And you also have in between, right? I mean, we could have an auction that's just 1 heart, 1 spade, 2 hearts. Your standard simple rate, same bid you would have made without the spade overcall. So in theory, anytime we're supporting partner, we have a way to do it, right? When there's interference. Here, if we jump to 3 hearts, this is and again, remember when I say weak, I mean truly weak. So ideally, you have no more than 5 points. You're like 0 to 5. And whether you would actually do this with 0 if you're vulnerable or something, that's a judgment call. If you're not vulnerable, I think you can be pretty liberal with these preemptive raises. In an ideal world, you have a singleton somewhere. You've got a little shape to your hand. But, that's up to you and your partner and just your judgment based on the vulnerability. But I would typically not want to see a preemptive jump with more than about 5 points. And then give me 1 second here, Nancy, and I'll get right with you on this. And then over here, you're in that kind of 6 to 9 range with heart support. And then anything that is like 10 or more, now we're up to the Cuebid. So, Lois.
So 3 spades, to me, sounds like they're stronger. Because they're forcing.
You mean if you're
No,
jumping?
I'm at the one above. 1 heart.
Here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your minimum Cuebid, right? So just keep in mind that if you are using, in this case, where most of our Cuebids by responder are a 1-round force, in this case, you've created a game force, right? If partner can't bid your suit below the game level, if there's no bidding room to do it, then yeah, you're forcing the game. And I would say when you are confronted with these situations, I would rather see you err on the side of a slight overbid. In other words, if the auction goes a heart and they get in with 2 spades, and you're over here with heart support, and you've got a decent 11 points, I would rather just force the game on my 11, and I'm willing to live with, if we're down 1, if we can't make game because partner had a dead minimum opening, I would rather err on that side than make what might be a slight underbid here on this auction. A slight underbid of 3 hearts, watch partner pass. Now partner might accept the game try, or watch partner pass, and I'm not a big fan of plus 170. I want that to be plus 420 or plus 620.
Do you count distribution at all?
Again, it's always a judgment call. So you know, let's say I have the invitational hand. Is my 11-point hand with heart support, is it 4-3-3? You know, is it flat? Because that's not a grade 11, and you might not want to force the game. Is it 4-4-3-2? Is there a singleton? Yeah, I'm definitely accounting for distribution in here. I'm also, another thing that I'm accounting for is, now we said you want to have a minimum of 3-card support for partners major, but you might have 4, right? Well, that's an upgrade. As many of you have heard me say, 9-card fits play noticeably better than 8-card fits, especially if you have shortness and partner wants to rough anything in the dummy, right? That 4th trump makes a big difference. Usually it allows you to do any roughing you need to do in the dummy and get your trumps drawn. So yeah, all of this stuff is malleable to some degree, and you're making a judgment call whether you feel it's invitational. Yeah, a lot of times I will post things and I'll kind of give you high card points, but look, you always get to make a judgment call. If you have a 9 count that you